Welcome back to another episode of 6 for 6 Season 3, Episode 14. We are back to the swing of things. Like as you can see in the description of the video, that we are looking at college hoops, ladies and gentlemen. College hoops. You got men's and women's that we got in tonight's program. Make it nice and easy and straight to the point. That's what we love it here. But we got to start making our predictions for March Madness. We got to start watching the games to help us make the right bracket, to get the perfect bracket. So picking some of the teams that are ranked top high and giving you more insight onto how they're going to perform and also close matchups, definitely going to be a key pivotal thing. For this weekend, the men's action, not too many big games. I would say the only big game to be on the lookout for is Purdue, Wisconsin, definitely going to be high anticipated, definitely going to be on Sunday. But if you look at women's college basketball now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of great games slated for Sunday. You got at least 4 top 25 matchups that I put into this one. There's a little bit more out there for ranked opponents playing, but it's a solid weekend for women's college basketball, some women's hoops. So definitely, if you're in those respective areas, make the trip out to those games or any of those schools that you go to or like to support for women's college basketball. So definitely a great turnout for those. A lot of good matchups, a lot of games that are going to be close setting up for that tournament in March. But we got to start now, early now, February. Now we got to start paying attention. Super Bowl, NFL is getting ready to close. So we're going to have the Super Bowl next week. We're going to break that down on episode 15 of season 3. But on this one here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to focus on more of college hoops. Once the Super Bowl ends, a lot of 6 for 6 will be mainly college hoops and getting that in. We're going to throw a couple crew games in there as we get through February towards the end of February when Major League Soccer picks back up again. But also we have hockey in there, so we're going to sprinkle some of that in there. But a lot of the games are going to be college basketball oriented, maybe 3 from there and then 3 from other leagues as well. So it just depends on what's going on. Without further ado, let's do a quick recap of what our season's looking like. So last episode, we went 1-5. What an embarrassing week last week. Just having one correct prediction. The Ravens letting us down. The Lions was a shot in the dark, but hey, they were close. They just ran out of gas at the tail end. That's all that separates that team apart. The Warriors losing in double overtime, that hurts in there. I forget the other team that I picked that lost. Oh, it was UConn that lost against Notre Dame. So that's just a bad selection, I would say. But that hurts our record for 2024 alone, making it 10-13. We're going to rebound this week. And pun intended, like basketball. We're going to rebound this week, and we're going to get back in the win columns, and we're going to keep winning and just make sure that our losses are kept to the minimum. But as you can see, season 3's record so far is 36, 32, and 2. So definitely we're still winning, but we're 4 games above 500 right now. So we got to quickly, get these dubs where we can and just keep marching on. Without further ado, let's get into tonight's program. So we're going to go into the land of Ivy League now, ladies and gentlemen. We got Princeton, Yale tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time on ESPNU and ESPN+. This is a great matchup, as you can see. Yale and Princeton both score about on the average about 77 points together. But if you look at the games on their defense and steals, Yale out rebounds Princeton. However, Yale is just a better team across the board. They get more steals per game, they get more blocks per game, and they make a little bit less assists. But however, Yale's on a 6-game winning streak from the last time I pulled this. So looking that in, that's going to be a major factor in this scenario. But if you look at some of the competition, they're beating the teams relatively, prospectively the same in this. But the game I want to call out is the Harvard game that Princeton destroyed Harvard. But if you look at Harvard against Yale, it's 78-65 compared to Princeton when it was 89-58. So as you can see, Princeton is just a better ball club against Harvard. So you can do some of the eye tests when you play similar teams because literally it's the same scenario. However, Yale was at Harvard, but in the scenario when Harvard was at Princeton, Harvard had to go to Princeton. So different perspective. If they were both away, then you have like similar magnitude, similar environment to really factor in. But I'm going to take the gamble on this one. I'm going to give Princeton the benefit of the doubt because before they lost on January 27th, they were on like a 4-game winning streak out of the last 5. So definitely a team that can be, great in there, causing some pandemonium. But I'm going to give Princeton, I should say, Princeton the dub on this one. So you can catch Princeton Yale tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time on ESPNU, and ESPN Plus. Now we got to get into our women's basketball. We got literally the next 4 games are all women's basketball until we get to the game of the week. So women's college basketball, Kansas State, Texas, Sunday, February 4th, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific time on FS1. Great matchup between these two. And we could already say they've already played each other once this season back on January 13th. And if you look at it, Kansas State beat, they were home. They played against Texas at home. The score was 61-58. Lost by 3, Texas. Now Texas is at home. So we're going to give Texas the benefit of the doubt to cause the upset against Kansas State at home and propel them up forward. This is where my logic is because they only lost on the road by 3 to Kansas State. So I think this is a good logic to have in there. But if you look at Kansas when like 3 weeks later, on the 16th of January, Texas plays Kansas. Texas drops 91-56 compared to Kansas State playing 69-58. As you can see, Kansas State is a defensive ball club in the scenario. They're not scoring a lot of points that are high, but if you look at Texas, they are shooting close to almost on average of 75, 73 points per game if you look at the spread of the last 5 games. Now, it's not going to be an easy task for Texas to go and beat the number 2 seed Kansas State, but I think Texas has the number on them and can do the upset, and since they're at home, so I'm going to give Texas the benefit of the doubt. So you can catch women's college basketball, Kansas State, number 2 in the nation, versus Texas, number 12 in the nation, Sunday, February 4th, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific time on FS1, and I have Texas winning it. Next up, in ladies hoops, we got Virginia Tech, number 17 in the nation, versus North Carolina, number 24, Sunday, February 4th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time on ESPN2. Some great matchups, 7 spots away from rankings. But like I said, rankings really don't matter much in college hoops, ladies and gentlemen. It's about when you can get into that dance and punch your ticket in and keep on dancing until you win your glorious national title appearance. Now, if you look at the last, 5 games, North Carolina's on a 4 out of 5 win streak. Virginia Tech got 2 losses here and there. If you look at some of their conference play, they're relatively close. Virginia Tech is 16-4 compared to North Carolina's 15-6. Definitely good close matchups in there. Very notable opponents, but I don't really have a common opponent that they played in the last 5 games to really make a strong argument. But I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Virginia Tech based on the opponents that they've played against. In the example, I shouldn't say, it was Georgia Tech, relatively close. But North Carolina beat Georgia Tech 73-68. But Virginia Tech destroyed Georgia Tech 87-69. So that's where I'm going to sway my a little bit bias to Virginia Tech in this scenario. So give me the Lady Hokies in this one. You can catch Virginia Tech, number 17 in the nation, versus North Carolina, number 24 in the nation, Sunday, February 4th, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time on ESPN2. Next up, we got UCLA ladies hoops, ladies and gentlemen, number 7 in the nation versus Stanford, number 4 in the nation, February 4th, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time on ESPN2. Great matchup here, ladies and gentlemen, between this. Stanford is on a 4 out of the last 5 win streak, and UCLA has been teeter-tottering, going back and forth, winning it. So looking at this matchup on Sunday, I'm going to give it to UCLA because they have the back and forth matchup. So if you look at the next game, they should win based on the pattern that they've been doing for the last 5 games. However, Stanford is on a 4-game winning streak, looking to make a number 5 case in the stats that I have currently pulled. But if you look at the matchup that they played similar is Colorado. Stanford got beat by Colorado 71-59. And then if you look at UCLA, they beat Colorado 76-68. So as you can see that UCLA can do it. I'm going to give the upset in the scenario on the road. It's going to be a very challenging experience to do in this environment, but I think UCLA has it in the bag. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and give it to UCLA. So you can catch women's college basketball, UCLA number 7 in the nation versus Stanford number 4 in the nation. Sunday, February 4th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time on ESPN2, and I have UCLA winning it. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, you got to give it to the Ohio State Lady Buckeyes going at it against Indiana, number 10 in the nation, number 8, Ohio State, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on FS1. Woo! Ladies Buckeyes put in work with that solid win over Iowa. Out of their last 5 games, they're on a 5-game winning streak. Indiana on a 3-game winning streak. Out of their last 5 games, they won 4. So definitely a heated matchup Sunday in this matchup, and it's in Columbus. I thought about going to the game, but with things going on, I'm not able to make it. So definitely going to be keeping a close eye on this one for the Lady Buckeyes. Can't wait to see them in March Madness. We'll probably make the trip up. Well, they're probably going to get home court advantage, so I'll make an appearance at the game if it doesn't fall on a weekday while I'm at work. So I can definitely tune in. If it falls on a weekend, I can definitely try to tune in and go in person and take some pictures and post it on an Instagram feed that just shows some support for our Lady Buckeyes and definitely help the podcast out a lot in that scenario as we get out to more sporting games. But looking just at these matchups alone, it's just relatively close. It's going to be a very tough thing. But the thing that's giving Ohio State the edge is beating Iowa, which Indiana got bushwhacked by 84-57, which was the Iowa score against Indiana. So Ohio State was able to go in overtime, beat Iowa 100-92. So definitely one of those key things. I think the Ohio State ladies are going to be able to take care of business against Indiana and keep that momentum going and go on a nice little win streak before in the tournament. Because like I said, you need to get hot at the right time to build it. So now they could either lose early to build up that momentum or just keep cruising all the way through. Very difficult to keep cruising all the way through March Madness up to this point right now. So we got to take a couple L's, couple of fine tune-ups so they can time it just right for the Big Ten tournament. Keep on marching through so they have a great spot in the dance. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the game of the week. No, before I go in the game of the week, you can catch this game, Indiana, number 10 in the nation versus number 8, Ohio State, Sunday, February 4th, noon Eastern Time, and 9 a.m. Pacific Time on FS1. Last up, the game of the week, ladies and gentlemen, men's college basketball, number 2 Purdue versus number 6 Wisconsin. Sunday, February 4th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time on CBS. A great matchup in the Big Ten. You can't ask much more for Big Ten action this week, ladies and gentlemen. You got to be very thrilled and very excited for all this action in the Big Ten, ladies and gentlemen. Just the women's basketball alone, and now you have the men's basketball in the Big Ten heating up right before we get ready for the Big Ten championship games and the play-in tournament for that, and then gearing up for March Madness. But Purdue just dominating points-wise, the assists, the blocks, that defensive team, not really too much in the steal department, but out of their last 5, they're on a 5-game winning streak, just dominating opponents that they go up against. But if you look at their record, they have 2 losses this season, ladies and gentlemen. 2 losses compared to Wisconsin's 4 losses. And out of their last 4 losses, one of those losses was in conference play. And for Purdue, the 2 losses come from conference play as well. So the Big Ten can beat each other up, and that's very clear and prevalent in this scenario. Wisconsin lost to Penn State in a heartbreaking by 4 points, but Purdue destroyed Penn State in this one as well. So when you look at some of the teams that they played against, I'm giving the edge to Purdue based on how dominant they are compared to what happened last year. I think they're on a revenge tour, making a deep run, making a push, and defending why they should be back as a number 1. Like I was talking with Steven, just the fact that the only team that was eliminated as a first seed and then the next year they win it all was Virginia, when Virginia lost as as a 1 seed to a 16, and the following year they end up winning the tournament all the way as a 1 seed. So that's only happened once. Can we see it happen again? Certainly, but the probability of that is very, very difficult, very, very low. And for this matchup alone, I'm giving it to Purdue over Wisconsin. So you can catch men's college basketball, Purdue, number 2 in the nation versus number 6, Wisconsin, February 4th, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time on CBS. And now with that, let's do a quick recap and we'll get you on out of here so you can enjoy your Thursday night. So men's college basketball, Princeton, Yale tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time on ESPNU, and ESPN Plus. And I have Princeton winning it. Next up, we got women's college basketball, Kansas State, number 2 in the nation versus Texas, number 12 in the nation, Sunday, February 4th, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Pacific time on FS1. And I have Texas winning it. Next up, we have women's college basketball, Virginia Tech, number 17 in the nation, versus North Carolina, number 24 in the nation. Sunday, February 4th, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time on ESPN2, and I have Virginia Tech winning it. Next up, in women's college basketball, if it decides to show, we have women's college basketball, number 7 UCLA versus number 4 Stanford. It's Sunday, February 4th, 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time on ESPN2, and I have UCLA winning this one. Next up, we have women's college basketball, number 10 Indiana versus number 8 Ohio State. Sunday, February 4th, noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific time on FS1, and I have I have Ohio State winning it. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I got a little tunnel vision in there in this matchup. And last but not least, men's college basketball, number 2 Purdue versus Wisconsin, Sunday, February 4th, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time on CBS, and I have Purdue winning it. And let me give you a quick recap of our overall records, and we'll conclude tonight's program. So last episode, ladies and gentlemen, we went 1-5. Hopefully we turn around, get some wins here and there, and get us back over 500 in the wins and keep our losses to a minimum. But that shows our 2024 record in our picks for correct of winners of 10-13. So obviously we're going to try to turn that around and get some more wins. Hopefully we go six correct picks, but that's very difficult, but we'll do our best to get it. We've only done it once on this show, and we'll try to look forward to do it again. And so far, season 3 overall record is 36, 32-2. Definitely a key pivotal moment for sure, but we're going to make sure we continue to grow our wins and keep our losses to minimum. But thank you so much for tuning in tonight's program. Enjoy all the sporting events going on this weekend, and we'll catch you all next week on another episode of 6 for 6. So long for now. Bye-bye.